In this video, whether you're seriously dating, engaged, or even single, looking for someone to spend the rest of your life with, we want to give you 4 qualities that you have to have in your partner. Now, we all want a happily ever after that lasts forever, but the problem is many people are choosing the wrong kind of person to do life with forever.
Yeah.
They never really evaluate their partner, themselves, the relationship. They get married thinking that they can change and work on it. And I can tell you, well, we can tell you, it doesn't work.
Yes. So we want to jump you off the emotional train of this just feels great into reality of who is the best person for you to spend the next 50, 60, 70 years of your life together with, okay? So the first quality we want to talk about is an eagerness to learn. What I mean, if I were to put it in 2 words, they're hungry and they're humble. The hunger to me is kind of like this drive to learn. It fuels them. They get excited about learning about their strengths and their weaknesses and making sure that they have structure in their life that will protect them and others from their weaknesses. They're very aware of that. But see, they're also humble enough to recognize, I'm not all the way there. There's always room to grow. I can always improve myself. And I think, people say, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
Yeah.
So it's not about perfection. These people kind of recite to themselves, it's about progress. And as long as I'm building healthy habits into my life and I'm working on myself and I'm growing in my own self-awareness and self-care, then I'm good.
Yeah, it is. It's about the eagerness. If you're on autopilot and you just kind of stay where you're at, it's going to be really frustrating on the other side of marriage.
Yes.
So some red flags would be to just watch out for. If you have offered, hey, let's do some premarital counseling or couples coaching, and they're like, nope, don't want to do it. Red flag, okay? Yeah. Another red flag would be if they don't want to talk about resolving issues. They're not willing to learn new communication techniques, new, conflict management, things like that. And I think, obviously, a lack of self-awareness. And like Casey said, it's not just you have to marry someone that has amazing self-awareness. I mean, that's a perk if they do. But if they don't, I go back to they're saying, you know what, I don't know who I am. I don't know why I respond this way. I don't know how to communicate well, but I want to learn. So the red flag is I'm good where I'm at.
Yes.
I don't need to go anywhere. And then I think another red flag that it's hard to say this because I don't want to label anybody, but if they're emotionally lazy, like you just don't see themselves changing. Like every time they yell and they're like, oh, that's just who I am. I'm a yeller. That's just being emotionally lazy. It's not willing.
Yes.
There's no willingness to learn how to break that bad cycle of yelling.
Yeah.
So it's just some red flags.
Yes, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Number 2,
let's do it. Okay, so they have taken the time to process their childhood or any other kind of trauma that has happened in their past before you knew them. So a lot of times, growing up, there's sexual or physical abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, something like being bullied on the playground. I'm just trying to think, being cheated on by an ex. All of those things absolutely impact our future.
Yeah.
They impact our marriage. They impact the way we parent, the way we love, the way we see the world. And so if your partner has never taken the time to go to counseling, especially if there's been abuse, if there was any kind of abuse, they need to see a counselor who specializes with abuse. If they haven't mourned maybe a death of a parent or a loved one and really gone, how did this impact me? How did I respond? How has this changed my life? It will be brought up. And whether it's 10, 20, 30 years down the road, it will come out and it will be really challenging for you.
Yeah, if your potential mate hasn't processed those traumas, what we know is this: hurt people hurt people. And so what happens is this comes out, you're dating, your engagement, you're always on your best behavior. But as soon as you cross the line into marriage, the rhythms of life can kind of settle us into a place of being comfortable around each other. And that's really when all that stuff starts to come out. Because
we start getting messy.
Yeah, because you know what? We don't put all the effort into putting our best foot forward because now we're married. Yeah. And so these come out as insecurities because they're unprocessed areas of pain and trauma. And you know what we do with insecurities? Either we overcompensate, like, oh, I got it all together, don't worry about me, I'm all good. Or we run and hide. We never talk about the past. So some of the red flags would be is if you hear these stories of neglect and abandonment, of wounds, and then you start asking like, so what did you do to get help? And there's just nothing there. I would say that is a big red flag because it's unprocessed, okay?
Or if they stuff it like, well, I got abused, but like we don't talk about it.
Right.
Like I don't want to go there. I don't want to talk about it. If they're not even willing to talk about it, that's not good.
Yeah, if they're a closed book to the past and they just, we don't open that closet, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
If you visit with their family and you see really extreme toxic behaviors, and everything is just completely minimized. For us, when we hear people minimizing toxic behavior, it's almost a tacit approval. And that approval will carry in to your marriage.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Okay? So if you hear stories of, oh yeah, everybody just yells at each other and then we just all get over it, that is a sign of things to come, okay?
Yeah.
Now, also, if they have past relationships that have failed, and again, you start asking questions like, oh man, you were engaged, what happened? How did it get called off? And there's really no good explanation, or it's their partner's fault, not their fault.
Yeah.
And it's like that across the board. Again, any one of these may be something to say, hey, let's get some help. We're not saying, well, but just because they have one of these red flags, it's over. I'm just saying it's time to take a pause and say, where are we going to get help on these issues? All right, our third point is you want to find a mate that is quick to apologize, okay? Trust me on this one. We make a ton of mistakes. We all do in our relationships. And you want to have a partner who recognizes immediately that they've caused you hurt and then rushes in with an apology. Remember that an apology is something we do for others to express our concern, our love. Like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. That's on me. I apologize, right? We're apologizing to others to remind them that we care for them. I cannot tell you how important it is. I kind of go back to that hungry and humble. If someone is humble enough, they will recognize and validate your feelings. That is a very important point, okay? In that apology to validate that, wow, I hurt you. Now, for most apologies, we call it the law of unintended consequences. I know that we don't wake up in the morning and go, how can I royally screw over my spouse?
I hope that's not your intent.
But a lot of things happen in the moment.
Yep.
We get angry,
We're
impulse.
imperfect. We make mistakes.
Something did hold us up at work, so we're late at home, but it wasn't, again, what we did intentionally. But you want to find a spouse that is willing to say, I know, and I know I wasn't doing that intentionally, but I did hurt you. Listen to me very carefully. You do not want to live your life constantly fighting for your spouse to recognize the hurt that they've caused.
Yeah.
As marriage coaches dealing with couples in crisis, let me tell you how exhausting and taxing it is. So let me repeat this again, okay? I think I even wrote this down. You do not want to live a life where you're constantly fighting for your partner to recognize how they've hurt you.
Yeah. And the more self-aware you become, the more you can take ownership and say, I have hurt my spouse. Well, I did lose my temper. I did say something.
Yeah.
So, red flags to look for. Kind of obvious, but they blame everybody else, you, anything. It's always something or someone else's fault. It's never them. Or they'll start an apology with, I'm really sorry I hurt you, but there's an excuse. There's always an excuse. Yeah. It's not just, it was my fault. I'm wrong. It's like the blaming just continues and continues. And so, every once in a while we do that. I think all married couples can agree we blame. But at some point, there's got to be some kind of ownership for your mistakes, right? Okay, another red flag, they hold grudges. And it might not even be towards you. It could be past relationships. It could be their parents. It could be coworkers. But if you hear them constantly kind of festering in this anger and resentment, they're typically not quick to not just apologize, but also see other people's perspectives.
If you get a big red flag would be this. If you constantly hear the words, I'm sorry, and it's almost as a way to say, I'm sorry, and it's just to quiet you down.
Quiet down.
And then there's no follow-up change in behavior,
Yeah.
that is a huge
Then
red
they're
flag.
just giving you empty apologies. It's just, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But if nothing changes, please, that's a great point, babe. Do not, I'd say, hold off on anything moving forward on that one.
Wait, do you know why? Because that was what I did. I know this point really well.
It's okay if that's you. You can look, that was you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being honest. But you learned how to break through that and
Yeah, I
work on
did.
it.
Yeah.
And I had to call you out on it. Hey, real life here. Real life couple, guys. Okay. The other thing is that if they are bringing up issues over and over again, I go back to that's kind of on the blaming, spectrum, but somehow it's like, you're always doing this. Oh, remember we fought about this 3 years ago? That's just kind of some red flags to be aware of, okay? Now, the fourth and final quality. Now, I think we could have probably done 20 qualities, but these are ones we repeatedly see lacking in couples who are separating in divorce, okay? So know that that's where this is coming from. Seems obvious, trustworthy. This partner, the person that you decide to spend the rest of your life with, has to be a trustworthy person. And we believe and have seen that trust is actually more important than love, because love, the feeling of love can come and go. Love is a choice.
Yeah.
When you get married, love is a choice. When you're dating and engaged, it's definitely more of a feeling.
Yep.
Trust is the foundation that a marriage is built upon. So you gain trust in little drops, okay? It takes a long time if you break trust because you lose it in buckets. And you have to be able to trust your partner with your secrets, your dreams, your fears, your passions, your concerns.
Your heart,
right? Sexually, physically, spiritually, every area of you have to be able to trust your partner. And hopefully, of course, it's mutual that your partner trusts you. And so you got to make sure that your partner is a secret keeper, that they're reliable, that they own their mistakes, right? That they are someone that you can say, you are on my team, and no matter the good, the bad, the ugly, I can trust you, okay? And I think that at the core of trustworthiness, it's about integrity.
Yeah.
That's a value that's inside of trustworthy, where you choose what is right over what is easy. Because there's a lot of opportunities in marriage where you can do the easy thing, and that's not good long term. Or you can do the right thing, and that's choosing love.
So some red flags, obviously, when you're going to be watching your potential spouse in these little situations, like, are they cheating on their taxes, or,
true.
did the checker get the wrong amount? Like, how do they respond? So I think some red flags, as you start to watch your spouse or potential spouse, you're going to start to see this come up. So did you catch them in little white lies, or there's inconsistencies with their stories? These are red flags. If they've cheated on their partner in the past, that is a big red flag.
It's a big red flag.
It's not a killer, but what needs to happen is there needs to be a conversation around what are our healthy boundaries? How are we going to protect ourselves?
How is this not going to happen to us?
Yes,
if you did it in the
exactly.
past, if you can't cheat, if you're cheating when you're not even married, it's going to be a lot easier to cheat when you're married.
Yes.
So if you can't stay faithful when you're dating and engaged, it's a big thing to ask.
I would look at suspicious behavior, like they never let you around their phone.
Yeah.
I know that we all have these accounts, and people have secret accounts, and they don't want you to find out about it. So just keep your peepers open, okay?
Yeah.
40% of marriages experience affairs and sexual boundaries that have been crossed. So it is happening, it's on the rise, and it's one that you want to protect yourself, because a betrayal, like an affair, is probably one of the most gut-wrenching experiences emotionally to go through. Look, again, trustworthy. Trustworthy people are confidence bearers, meaning they don't gossip and they don't share everybody else's secret with everyone else. So look for these little areas where this potential spouse is someone that you can trust.
Absolutely. So, we gave you 4 qualities, and some of you watching are probably thinking, great, I don't know if my partner has any of these qualities. Or I'm missing. Maybe you're the one that's like, oh, shoot, I've got some work to do. The greatest part is if you have that first quality, an eagerness to learn. We're not saying don't get married. We're not saying, call off the wedding. What we're saying is simply take time And whether it's with a premarital counselor, whether it's with our online course that we have, whether it's with anybody, or you just take some time and start evaluating your life and your partner, you can't move forward. It gets really difficult on the other side of marriage. It gets more expensive and more time consuming. So do it before the wedding. Do it before you exchange vows. Now, if you're watching, listen carefully. This is important. And sometimes we have to say this. If you know that your partner you're with is never going to change, and they don't have these 4 qualities, and they don't have an eagerness, willingness to learn, then it's time to say, do I really want to spend the rest of my life with this partner? And I can tell you your answer, if you want, it's no, that you deserve better. And marriage is not for the faint of heart. It's for people who are willing to work at it, that are constantly willing to show up, choose integrity, do what is right over what's easy, and choose love. And if your partner doesn't have it in them, it's okay to step back and say, you know what, this isn't a great fit. I deserve better. And you're saving yourself from so much heartache and pain, and of course, possible divorce in the future.
Wow, that was really good.
I say it a lot, I feel like, to people, and I it's one thing I never want to say to anybody.
Yeah.
But it's so important, and we just, on the other side of working with so many marriages, we just wanted to do this so that we could hopefully prevent future divorces.
All right, guys, thanks for watching.
Thank you so much.